Good morning, everyone. We're excited to once again. I am Guy Gaster, overseeing the North Carolina Film Office, but filling in today for Whit Tuttle. And our update today will focus on how we continue to travel through this pandemic. And joining will be Marlise Taylor, presenting some traveler sentiment updates. Allison Schultz, who will also update on some of the marketing efforts that we've talked about on previous webinars. And then from the Department of Commerce, Wally was on to talk about the welcome centers opening back up and our call centers and what they've been up to. So without further ado, I turn it over to Marlise to give us the latest from the research side.
Thanks, Guy. Good morning, everybody. I hope you are all doing well today. Today's research agenda, I'm going to go over some personal feelings about travel that we've heard from the travelers in the South region of the U.S. We're going to talk about when and where will they travel, and then I have a few brief slides on travel messaging. Now, as you recall from previous webinars, we've been partnering with Destination Analyst research firm, and this makes the 14th week of data so far. Again, they collect about 1,200 completed surveys each week, but today, similar to when I presented to you about a month ago, today I'm going to present you results just from the southern region as it encompasses our primary and secondary markets. So first, let's talk a little bit about the personal feelings about the virus as it relates to travel. After a few relatively stable weeks, concerns for personal safety and that of friends and family jumped back up this week for Southern travelers. Similarly, concerns about the national economy as a result of the situation remain high. And then if you see there on the right slide, concerns for personal finances jumped this week after a sharp decline just last week. So you're going to see some of these jumps from last week to this week in the subsequent slides, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And after a few weeks of improvement, expectations that the severity of the virus situation to get better in the next month grew sharply this week for travelers in the South. It's presumed that with news of states opening and then recent spikes in confirmed cases of the virus contributed to lower expectations. So you can see there that last week, 34% indicated that they expected the situation to get worse in the next month. This week, that grew to 53%, so it's quite a jump. And conversely, last week, 32% expected an improvement in the next month, whereas this week, that percentage shrank to 17%. However, despite the lower confidence that the situation will improve in the next month, the proportion of travelers who agree that they will avoid travel until the crisis is over continues to decline. So this is good news here. The consistent improvements that we have seen in safety concerns for individual travel activities stopped this week. And I included this slide as an update so you can see that many of the activities, even the ones least perceived as unsafe, showed declines in safety perceptions this week. So even the activities that we thought of as more safe, such as non-team outdoor recreation, taking a road trip, visiting friends and relatives, dining in a restaurant, you can see that there was a blip this week, as in some of the other slides you'll see, as a reaction either to a spike in cases or travelers generally becoming more concerned. So we'll have to, wait and see and continue to monitor this. In terms of level of comfort of travelers in the South with their home states reopening, less than half indicated last week that they were comfortable, which was a drop from last week. So 47% this week as compared to 52% last week. Travelers do feel informed about corona-related risks with regards to traveling, but they don't feel as confident as they do feel informed about being able to travel safely in the current environment. However, more knowledge leads to greater travel confidence. So we need to make sure that we're doing our part to keep travelers well informed on how they can stay safe, which will then make them more confident to travel safely. Supporting previous slides that showed confidence levels decreasing and concerns increasing, we see that poor pandemic behavior by others and lack of enforcement will adversely affect the desirability and aspiration of travel destinations. When asked to think of a destination they are interested in visiting, and then imagine if they saw coverage of that destination being crowded or where people were not following the social distancing rules, you could see that they responded that they would be much less interested in visiting the destination. Again, these are travelers from the South, so these represent our markets. 60% of the travelers from the South said it would make them less interested, either much less or less interested in visiting that destination if they saw such media coverage. So the key takeaways here: personal safety does remain high. Less than 1/5 of travelers think that the situation will improve in the next month. However, fewer travelers say that they will hold off on travel, but they are paying attention to the media coverage on destinations that are following the rules and those that are not. Now let's talk a little bit about when the Southern region respondents say they will travel and where they will choose to visit. But before that, here's some data from a different research vendor partner, H2R Market Research. Many of you know Jerry Henry and have worked with them. He does a lot of attractions research, but I thought you would find this interesting. While some Americans have travel plans, as we have seen, consumers in general are split as to when they will start traveling. Those consumers who have already begun traveling, known as the early adopters, they're in the green, are a key segment to follow. They have already ventured out and visited either an attraction or just traveled for leisure. How they are feeling about their experiences traveling will be key to setting the course for other consumers to start venturing out as well. Now back to the destination analyst research. Just over half of the respondents say that they do hold out hope for fall travel season, but you'll see many are still undecided in that middle section there. When asked about tentatively scheduled trips, August and September have remained stable, but October through December dropped off this week from previous weeks. We'll continue to monitor this. And in fact, I looked this morning at our key data dashboard and looking at vacation rentals for the next 6 months statewide. This is occupancy, paid occupancy. It is trending a little higher at this point as compared to this same point last year for the same month. So you can see that things don't look bad there in the vacation rental dashboard that we have. So we'll keep an eye on that. Even after the coronavirus situation is resolved, travel will be different. The Southern travelers say that they will avoid crowded destinations, cruises, and the areas hardest hit by the coronavirus, as well conferences and conventions and places with sanitary issues, foreign destinations, and air travel ranked high in terms of places to avoid. Travelers, while anxious to take leisure trips when the time is right, are much more likely to visit familiar destinations for their next trip. So you can see here on your next leisure trip, how likely is it that your primary destination will be one you have visited before? 58% reported they are either likely or very likely to travel to a destination they have been before. This is really good news for North Carolina, as we know that the majority of our visitors are repeat visitors. In fact, I pulled some 2019 data from our OmniTrack visitor profile, and last year 87% of our visitors, our total visitors, were repeat visitors, with 61% visiting 3 or more times in the last 5 years. So the fact that we are a familiar destination and one that visitors are comfortable with should bode well for us. Key takeaways here: fall travel expectations have changed somewhat, but August and September remain steady. Travelers will avoid crowded destinations even after this is resolved. And remember that Southern travelers right now are more comfortable with the familiar, though they're still open to information about new experiences. And very briefly, we'll talk just a little bit, I only have 2 more slides, on advertising as we move forward. So while we heard that familiar destinations are more appealing, nearly half of the respondents from the Southern region say that they are still open to learning about new travel experiences now. And again, from H2R Market Research, we see that while discounts are important, so is letting visitors know how they will be protected. So There in the blue at the bottom, new governance rules or changes to the visitor experience designed to protect visitors. 30% of the respondents indicated that that would be a motivator or an inspiration for them to visit the attraction or the destination once restrictions are lifted. So this is really important. We need to make sure that we're communicating properly to our visitors and letting them know how we can keep them safe. So that is the research update that I have for y'all. I'm going to now turn the webinar over to Allison Schultz, our Director of Marketing, and she's going to give you some great information about what we're doing right now.
Thank you, Marlise. Allison, I believe you're unfortunately are muted here.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We got you. Thank you.
Feel like a Verizon commercial. Okay, I'll start that over again. You know, I can't believe that it's actually been, 14 weeks that we have been following traveler sentiment since COVID-19 hit all of us. It's generally, we are sharing sentiment across the United States. So it's awesome for us to be able to have this perspective of the southern region in the United States. So thank you, Marlise, so much for giving us this most recent update. One thing that wasn't mentioned was the fact that Visit North Carolina is doing resident sentiment research right now. And that's going to play heavily into the messaging campaign that we will be unveiling to you as part of our safety message at, I think, a webinar on July 1, if everything comes together, and that we will be in the market in July. So we'll be able to really respond to that traveler sentiment. As Marlise mentioned, safety is absolutely at the core, and it's really important for us to make sure that we are doing everything we can so that we can recover from this pandemic, and that travelers and residents across the state can feel safe in traveling in a healthy way. So today I'm going to give you a couple of updates on two initiatives that I think everyone listening in are aware of. One is Cook It Forward NC and Count on Me NC. We've talked about them heavily on past webinars, as Guy mentioned, and I just wanted to share with you some updates on both of those campaigns and see how they are taking off and positioning us well for when we launch our safety campaign in July. So let's begin with Cook It Forward NC. As you all know, this is a campaign that we launched in the middle of May. The idea is to shine the light on North Carolina's diverse culinary options, but also it has a social purpose in that it's working to assist and create awareness for restaurant workers who have been hard hit by this pandemic. On the next slide, you will see how many of our North Carolina chefs have paid it forward in a substantial way. For what they have done, just to give you a brief overview, is they have posted a picture of a dish that they love and that they crave, but it's actually prepared by another chef. They create awareness for the campaign to follow along, encouraging their followers to follow along with the hashtag Cook It Forward NC, and then they nominate another chef to keep this progression going. So what you will see on the next slide, we have had great participation across the state from our award-winning chefs. We've had over 47 posts specifically from those chefs and 61 posts overall. So let's go ahead to the next slide. The last time I presented, which I think was around a month ago, we were teeing up for the second phase of the campaign. And had everything gone according to plan, we probably would have completed this campaign by now, and we would have given you end of campaign KPIs, but with the very tragic death of George Floyd and the national arrest that has impacted all of us due to police brutality, racism, we decided that it was important for us to pause this campaign and let that conversation go forward. So it was actually late last week that Ashley Shanty, who is a chef in Asheville, reached out and said, I'm ready to go. I feel very, very passionate about this, and I think it's time for us to talk about how food really brings us together, as well as how it's through tasting other people's, other cultures' food that we get to experience much more open-mindedness. And she did a fabulous job for us on Saturday. In fact, what you saw on the previous slide was teaser copy for her live demonstration, which went live on Saturday, June 17th. It's okay, you can forward. She cooked a dish, a Southern dish. It was actually called kitchen pepper wings. And actually, kitchen pepper is a seasoning that you will find in many Southern kitchens. And so what was important about this dish, it was pantry friendly so that we could cook along as followers. She did a fabulous job. She really spoke about the passion of Cook It Forward NC and how all chefs really share her excitement and passion for North Carolina and what the food industry provides to our travelers and to residents, and how important it is to stay the course, to help restaurant workers and help restaurants overall come back from this pandemic. So on the next slide, you will see kind of a mock-up of what our landing page, visitnc.com/cookitforwardnc will look like. Her 10-minute video will be shown in addition to the recipe and a description of what the dish is, and then the final product that you see here. Since we launched the campaign, as I mentioned, back in mid-May, with just a small campaign across Instagram, we have seen great enthusiasm. We've had 3,000 visits to our landing page, of which only about a third has been as a result of paid media. So those chefs are really being strong influencers for us during this time. When you look at the downstream clicks, you know, this is important. This actually goes to the Restaurant Workers Relief Fund. And we talked with NCRLA, and on average, they're bringing in close to $3,000 a day. They have raised $135,000 to date, but it's certainly tapering off. And so we're going to do our part with the next few chefs that we will be bringing forward to Cook Live to help try to increase money to those funds. So that's all I have for Cook It Forward. I think what would be important for us now is to talk about another initiative that I think is going to be hugely important to us when we launch our safety campaign, and that is Count on Me NC. We've been talking about it for several weeks on several webinars. It is a private-public partnership that was concepted, as you know, by NCRLA, and Visit North Carolina got involved very early on, said, yes, we will work to do the branding for this campaign. We will launch a website, and we will do everything we can to promote it, to ensure that there is safe travel, and also residents within the communities of North Carolina can feel good about having travelers in their communities again. It's awesome that we've been able to work with the Department of Health and Human Services as well, and NC State for this campaign. Granted, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. We all know that this campaign, the idea is to increase resident and traveler confidence so that people can get back out and dine in restaurants, stay in our hotels, and enjoy many of the travel activities across the state. And as you know, this is a pledge that both restaurants and consumer-facing businesses, as well as consumers and patrons themselves, take to say that they'll do everything they can to keep us safe and healthy. So I wanted to share some of the KPIs. So on the next slide, you can see this gorgeous website that we launched on May 15th at the same time that the first few modules were ready for the restaurant industry. When you look at this homepage, you can see how easy it is, obviously, to navigate. So customers can go and learn more about the effort and take the pledge. For businesses, you can go right in, learn more about it, sign up for the business training, and get yourself certified. Just to let you know, we have had over 100,000 sessions to our website, of which about almost 70,000 have been unique users. So that's really outstanding for our website that's just been live for a month. Here you see other pages that just help direct and navigate North Carolina businesses to the training modules. And then you can see on the next slide, which is really important, is that certificate of completion. So once businesses have gone through the appropriate modules, they're able to get a certificate of completion back from NC State. And what we've learned is there has been, I believe, more than 10,000, I think we're looking at close to 11,000 certificates that have been given out since this campaign launched a month ago. On the next slide, you can see decals that are on the store. And the whole idea of this campaign is to just make it so visible so that everyone can see the work that our industry is doing to ensure that we are safe during COVID. The decal here on this business store, NCRLA is making sure that they get decals for all of those businesses who complete and receive that certificate. So that's a good addition to help certainly our industry. And then on the next slide, you can see some additional metrics and KPIs that we've been following. I've already mentioned more than 10,000 training completion certificates. That's an incredible number for a month. We have more than 1,900 unique businesses who are being currently showcased on the site. And I also think what's outstanding is people like you and me have gone on and taken that pledge, and we are seeing that number at 7,000. So let's go to the next slide. And you know, we all know how important social media is, and so we just wanted to give you a glance at how proud many of these businesses are. In fact, I think we're averaging about 40 posts a day across social using the hashtag #CountOnMeNC. And you can see when you know, customers or businesses complete the program and receive that certificate, they're very proud and they're sharing that information across social. I think as of end of day Monday, we calculated about 600 entries that's specific to this program. Next slide. And media, you know, PR is really incredible and important to our effort in terms of getting the message out. When the campaign launched, we received a lot of in-state coverage, but we're particularly proud of the fact that Travel and Leisure also produced a story that was pitched by our PR team. And so we will continue to find creative ways, especially when we launch our safety campaign next month, to engage journalists so that we can continue to grow the coverage in this area. So next slide. One thing I think I mentioned back in early May is that, you know, this campaign, we were going to make sure that we branded it, and we were able to hand out key merchandise to our welcome centers, to visitors coming into our welcome centers, as well as to many of our partners, you know, across the state who have embraced this campaign. So what you're going to see on this slide, you see that lapel pin that I originally showed to you. We're going to be purchasing those for welcome center staff and volunteers to wear, and also provide, as I mentioned, to our partners. And certainly VisitNC will be proudly wearing these pins that can be personalized just with a Sharpie. One of the most important things I think, though, that we can hand out to visitors and to residents is the mask. We are learning so much about how the mask is really controlling and containing the spread of COVID. So we've got branded masks that we will be handing out that will be included in the bags that you see here on the center. And Wally soon is going to be sharing with you new protocols that the Welcome Center has undertaken as well. And one area that's going to help him and his team tremendously is being able to put a lot of this merchandise and our travel guide that we use as a fulfillment into the bags. Because we know also that it's the drive market that we're going to be heavily focused on, and in-state travelers as well. The koozie is certainly a good option to give to visitors when they come into the centers. And I guess an all-time favorite for us is the coasters, and we're working on how we might be able to distribute those not only at the Welcome Center, but to participating restaurants as well. So next slide. And this is my favorite slide of all, because I get the opportunity to introduce Wally Wazun, who I know many of you know. He's the manager of our visitor services program, works closely and works for the North Carolina Department of Commerce. And so it's a joy to introduce him today and to hear what he is doing and what the team are doing now that many of our welcome centers have opened up. So without further ado, I turn it over to Wally.
Well, thank you so much, Allison and VisitNC, for having me this morning. First, I just want to say that I know there are several of the northern counties that are under flush warning. And others, they have a lot of downed trees. So I want to wish them all a safe day. So now I want to move over with the, what is it that we're talking about today? The main topic is COVID-19 and pandemic, and how this national or international pandemic impacted our Welcome Center program and the entire world heavily. So during the closure of the Welcome Centers as of May 15th, we kept monitoring the progress of the pandemic, the development of it, and the impact on it on the entire world, and especially in this state and our Welcome Center program. We kept monitoring the governor's updates and moving from phase 1 to phase 2. When we were at phase 2, now we are at phase 2, we decided to take that into consideration so that we will be in balance between what the governor is required of us as citizens, and also to maintain the Welcome Center staff safety at once. So we were encouraged because of the ease on restrictions, business operations, and mass gathering in the state to start wrapping the Welcome Centers as of June 1st to move forward with reopening them as of June 11th. So therefore, as a result, 7 out of the 9 Welcome Centers did open as of June 11th, and with operation to limit visitor contact with brochure stock. In the meantime, during phase 3, the Welcome Centers will resume operations with the brochures fully available to the public. And I will elaborate more on that during the course of the presentation. So now I'd like to touch a little bit on the resumption of the service as of June 11th and how the whole process came about from the beginning to us opening as of June 11th. Before we made the decision of reopening, we submitted a plan to DHHS that include all the protocols measures to be implemented at the Welcome Centers. So we continue to operate in a different environment, but we are operating with the same friendliness and southern hospitality approach we are known for. As you can see from this photo on the right of the slide, we are promoting social distancing. You see the health partitions there, and all these professional made lines and arrows using blue tapes in place. Also, I personally didn't expect our managers and the staff to take such heavy lift, completing such a dedicated task marking the floors and putting all these health partitions together. I really thought we're going to hire an expert to do that, but voila, this is a huge accomplishment, a great example of teamwork, completing such a very sensitive and effective task to move forward with us reopening. All the staff are wearing gloves and face masks, including homemade masks, and also the staff are maintaining social distancing among each others and other people walking in. So now reopening protocols. As you can see from these photos, this is how the Welcome Center's counter look like. There's health partitions on the top of the counter. Travel counselors will provide visitors with state maps marked with itineraries, state official travel guides, various destinations visitors guides, and the brochures about specific areas of interest from the brochure storage room. And if you can see from this photo on the right also, many Welcome Centers are having a lot of brochures behind the counter to continue maintaining or to continue promoting the states effectively with the material available per request. So whenever possible, materials will be passed to the visitors in a North Carolina takeaway bag, which is, we call it a litter bag, but now Allison has mentioned in her presentation, I am so excited about this project. With the Count on Me North Carolina, this is huge for us to be part of that. Also, travel counselors working in the lobby can determine visitor needs and at a safe distance provide brochures as needed from brochure storage areas as well. So we have all the brochures stocked in the brochure storage areas, and there's a lot of brochures behind the counter. Mainly our focus is the official state travel guide and the map and destinations visitors guide. All these could be packed in packages and given to the travelers through a little bag under the health partitions. So now again, with the reopening protocols, Welcome Centers are practicing social distancing when interacting with each other and the visitors. This may limit the number of travel counselors behind the reception desk at any given time. We are heavily promoting the 3 Ws introduced by DHHS. Wear the mask, wait, and wash your hands. Therefore, as part of that, we're keeping also the staff behind the counter 6 feet apart to avoid any close contact. Welcome Center staff will also require visitors to practice social distancing. We have signs, as you can see here, not only to promote social distancing, however, to encourage those visitors walking in the Welcome Center, if they have any kind of symptoms, to avoid walking in to maintain safety, although our staff are wearing face masks and gloves at all times. Also, we did a thorough research here as far as the Welcome Center's maximum occupancy. We measured the footage, all of that. And based on this 50% occupancy, we are determining now every Welcome Center's occupancy during the day at a given time. So the maximum occupancy is 23 at a time. However, we allow 10 inside, at a time. But the maximum occupancy of the Welcome Center here is 23. This is 50% out of the overall occupancy. As you can see, there's a lot of visible signage also at the previous slide. Health partitions, as you can see, this is the new normal. I believe this is going to continue, all of which is going to be critical to our operations moving forward. We are keeping this, I'm going to read off that, key point of contact between visitor and travel counselor considered part of the map now. As you can see, the health or I call it sneeze guards, sitting on the map to ensure that the interaction between the visitor and our travel counselor is behind the health partition. Also, there's the handing of brochures, all of that is not going to be around. It is going to be under the health partition, which is, I believe, 6 inches above between the bottom of the sneeze guard and the top of the counter. Staff members will continuously work on disinfecting and cleaning the sneeze guard to ensure safety for all, and also along with other cleaning and disinfecting overall the Welcome Center. So now, as I mentioned earlier, the 7 out of the 9 welcome centers did open. Among those 7 welcome centers is the 95 welcome center in Roanoke Rapids. That welcome center reopened also on June 11th. However, they went through a major renovation project, all of which they were closed since April 1st of 2019. So the staff were so excited about reopening again to the public as of June 11th. I wanted to share with you some photos from the welcome centers that was shared with me on Saturday, last Saturday through the weekend. This is so encouraging. If you can see the young lady with her son taking a selfie by "Welcome to North Carolina" sign. Also inside the welcome center, there are all these signs here to direct travelers to stop 6 feet apart, all of that. And again, if you have any symptoms, to avoid not coming inside the welcome center. Also, if you can see, I wanted to share with you that photo. This is the part of the major renovation that took place outside, or constructions. They added this huge star in the middle, and there's a water fountain that running 24/7. It's very attractive. Also, I mentioned earlier, 7 out of the 9 welcome centers did open on June 11th. However, Waynesville Welcome Center of I-40, Haywood County, did open yesterday. How about that? After being closed since December 18th of 2018. And also, DOT conducted a major renovation project and constructions outside. As you can see here, the landscape is amazing. They added a waterfall here at the picture on the far right in the middle, and it's very beautiful, breathtaking, you know, and they did a lot of work inside as well. In the meanwhile, I like to share with you this photo in the middle. As you can see, it does reflect the hard work our staff did and our agency purchasing department making these signs to ensure that we are in compliance with all the CDC regulations, DHHS, and all for the safety of our staff and the safety of the public. So you can see here how the lines are so straight. I personally, again, I did not expect that kind of final product for such a major safety reason. So now, Charlotte Welcome Center continue to be closed. This is our 9th Welcome Center that hasn't been open yet, only because of a pre-scheduled interior fixtures renovations project that is still in place. And we're hoping that this will be completed by July 1st. And then they will reopen. So now I just want to share with you, although it's a little early trends. However, I like to share this with you because it sounds very promising. I'm really positive about that 5 days or 6 days of us being opened again with these trends. As you can see, the majority of the welcome centers average between 60 to 95 visitors inside per day. This is really unexpected statistics, given what I know about Southeast region welcome centers. When they reopened, they did not experience that kind of visitors inside the welcome centers. And I think this is extremely encouraging for us as a program and for you all as a DMO, TDA, attractions, hotels, all of that. So now visitors to the mountain welcome centers, which are the one in Polk County, Haywood County, and Madison County. The main focus for the visitors or they're seeking outdoor recreation information, hiking trails, state parks, and camping. I'm sorry. Visitors to other welcome centers, also, they're seeking outdoor recreation activities and information about our beaches. Some welcome centers, believe it or not, did book hotel reservations, applying available protocols to complete such a task, because one of our amenities is to book hotel reservations. I personally did not expect to have any hotel reservations made through our service or amenity. So yes, we did book hotel reservations. That's sound very promising. Also, as we all know, we have an iPad registry that we use, a page that we monitor also our trends, statistics, state of the origin reports, all of that. The Welcome Center staff are handling this by asking our visitors the questions to complete this one-page guest registry through the iPad. So now, please don't be worried about the stop sign, but this is just an alert for you all to take this brochure factor into consideration. Yes, the backbone of the Welcome Center is the brochure. We're here for you. However, we have a large stock of brochures that we didn't have a turnover for 90 days during our closure. So I ask you to be a little careful with you sending us brochures for replenishing and all. We make an exception if you have a new brochure. Please send it to me, and of course I will approve it if it does meet the brochure policy criteria. And also, we want you to be a little, careful with the quantities as well. So now back to what Ms. Ellison mentioned in her presentation. Count on Me program, Count on Me North Carolina program. We are really, really, really excited about this opportunity. And all our Welcome Center staff, as you can see, did complete the trainings available for us, the cleaning and disinfecting services for COVID-19, and the general practices for COVID-19 management as well. I said here that programs material will be displayed within the programs. Now, I wasn't aware, surprise from Ellison here, that we are going to have some merchandise as well to give to our visitors, to share with them that North Carolina is welcoming you all back for our destinations for tourism. Now, ongoing operations, we are hoping during phase 3, the governor's plan to ease restrictions again and perhaps improve the occupancy at 100%, and mass gatherings will be better. We may make some adjustments to go back to the normal operation. With the new normal, I think we're gonna keep the health partitions on there. However, the new normal will dictate for us moving forward, how are we going to operate? The good news here is that post-COVID-19, I hope, during phase 3, this increased the need for welcome centers. We understand we are extremely vital program for you all. We are not a pay-to-play program, so to speak. And I shouldn't say that, but this is the value added we have for you all, So we have 50,000 small North Carolina businesses that depend on us as a welcome center and rely on tourism. And all this goes hand in hand in improving the state economic impact generated from tourism. So now welcome centers offer free marketing, as we do on a day-to-day basis. In some cases, the only marketing tool available to tourism-related businesses hit hard by economic events related to COVID-19. At this stage, brochures may be restocked in the reception area and made available to the public. In the meanwhile, during that stage also, we do encourage you to make visits to the welcome centers, because at this point, we are very selective, or I don't want to say selective, we prefer all these visits to be during that phase. Now the focus is just to maintain safety to our staff, to the public, and make sure that we are in compliance with the DHHS, CDC regulations, and also commerce regulations as well. So now the call center. Call center has been operating regularly. The call volume and trends differ. However, now we are seeing better trend. The call volume is increasing. However, visits for armature familiarization tours are temporarily suspended. We know that many of you all, DMOs, TDAs, and several tourism entities like to make visits and share with the call center staff the latest at your area. This is on hold now, and it could be substituted with providing some ongoing material like online training material. It can be shared via email. You can share with us your PowerPoint presentation with scripts or recorded video through Zoom or any kind of virtual mode you prefer or method. The call center has been very active, not only with 800 VisitNC tourism calls, but also NC DOT's 511 and customer service line. To help support the state's COVID-19 response, the operators recently began providing service for NC 211 information line. Here, I'd like to take the opportunity and thank Ms. Smith and her team for working so hard during the pandemic and providing service to the callers. And also, I forgot to mention one thing. This is Wally, I cannot help it. We did, prior to us reopening on June 11th, we did a thorough inspection virtually for the 8 welcome centers. And this is how the reopening came about when we realized that all welcome centers did meet the requirements for us to reopen again. So now that plan that we have submitted to DHHS for approval, and it was put together by Brian Gupton and myself, it's available for you all. If you want to have a copy of the plan, please feel free to email me. I will be more than happy to provide to you. And this will conclude my report. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Wally. Definitely appreciate that update and good information. Even better to know that welcome centers are back up and operating and welcoming guests. Before we move into the Q&A, I do want to remind you that a recording of this video will be available at both VisitNC365.com as well as partners.visitnc.com, and in addition to being emailed to all participants. Additionally, the handouts that the presentations we shared are available for you to download right now on the right side of the page in the handouts portion. We have separated them so that the research information is available as one handout, and then the marketing update and welcome center and call center protocols are another handout. Finally, on the right side also is the question panel. If you have not already submitted a question that you would like to ask, please do so, and we'll try to get to as many as those as we can. And starting off with that was a question on for Marlise. It did appear that there were some trends going down. Is that nationwide or just in the South?
Yeah, we saw that nationwide as well, and I should have said that, but so this 1 week blip, you know, we don't have any really answers as to why, but I presume that with states opening up more and then spikes in cases in certain places, that's why we saw that. But absolutely, it was mirrored in the South for what we saw at the U.S. level. Yeah.
Excellent. A question came up, Allison, hopefully you can direct. There's some businesses in a couple of areas that have completed the Count on Me NC courses and even got their certificates, but aren't listed on the website yet. Do you know kind of what the timeline is on being listed on the website, and is there someone that they should reach out to make sure they are listed?
Yeah, so we can look into that. Once the businesses have received their certificates, which it sounds like that's the case, then it goes back to NCRLA. And I believe that's how then it shows back up on the website as a participating business. Sometimes there is a little bit of a lag from when NCRLA receives the information and can get it posted, but they check it and then they'll push it live. I'm happy to look into this for for any of the communities who have some concerns. I'll be happy to look into it for them.
All right, great. Thank you, Allison, with that. Let's see. The next question still kind of on VNC about the decals. When do those anticipate being ready, and who will be sending them out?
Well, this is from NCRLA, so this is something that they're taking charge of. I can get with Margot and Lynn and her team to determine when those will be distributed. I think the last time that we talked with them about the decals has been over a week. So it'd be good to catch up with them to see if those have been produced and if they are being distributed. So I just don't know. I just know that they've made the decision to provide these decals to participating businesses so that we can create more awareness, you know, across the state, and especially for consumers and patrons coming in to these establishments.
Okay. And I'm also seeing several notes that obviously the DMO willing to help get those swag out or those marketing items out who restaurants are offering to help if they can. So want to make
That's
note.
absolutely outstanding, because that's an ongoing question that we're having within the organization in terms of how we distribute. Obviously, there's a toolkit where participating businesses can grab information, and I think even make orders. But for what VisitNC is handling, we would love to be able to partner and to help get, I think, these really great merchandising out into the community.
Excellent. Let's see. Sorry, we just went over that. Wally, a question had kind of been if someone, I think you alluded to it, but if someone wanted to check on what the stock of their brochures are, should they reach out directly to you or to the Welcome Center that they primarily work with?
Well, if the Welcome Center, they want to check, the brochure, they want to check on has been approved and they have a letter of approval, they can definitely reach out to the Welcome Center and see if about to the stocking and more inventory for them.
Okay, great. I think Marquise, I know you presented with it, but there continues to be as you analyze the various data points, what do you see as being the main time that people are feeling like they will start traveling again?
I think it's going to depend on destination, but I mean, it looks like July is going to be okay, and August is going to be okay. Again, not as good as last, but I think we will see some summer travel. I don't think that that's going to completely go away. I think there's a lot of pent-up demand. I think people are going to travel, but I don't think we're going to see any great increases. I think there's still a large proportion of the population that are nervous and scared or concerned. And so I think that while we will see summer travel, that it's going to be muted, and people are going to wait until they know more about the safety aspects of travel. And if you recall that the one pie chart I had in there towards the middle of the presentation that showed the early adopters, the adapters, that I think that is a really good slide in terms of what people need for motivation and inspiration to travel, what they need to feel before they'll feel like traveling. I think that would be a really good pie chart to refer back to.
Okay. Allison, a question had come in on, the governor's with moving to stage 2 has called it safer at home. And while there isn't necessarily a travel ban, there also didn't appear to be an encouragement. Do you see an encouraging word of traveling coming in the near future?
Well, I hope so. I don't have a crystal ball, but I think our safety campaign is going to be absolutely vital. and the timing of pushing that out into the market is significant, you know, because what we did see this week, you know, there was such positive trending about travel. And then with the uptick in COVID cases in 22 states, you saw, American travelers retreating a bit and having greater concern about COVID. So for us, with the messaging that we have, that we're going to present, to our partners, I think in early July, I think we're looking at July 1, I've mentioned that, we'll really go through how we are going to be promoting travel in a very safe way. And this campaign is going to work to really change behaviors. It's going to entertain them. So it's not going to have such that strong authoritarian message that people tend to shun away from. And we've seen, from the research. But we've also seen that, travelers really are relying on their local communities, their DMOs and officials, more so than they have in the past in terms of finding that information reliable. So this campaign, will be, I think, very significant in being able to change those behaviors and make it popular, to wear a mask, to continue to wash, our hands and to wait. Wally really talked about those safety protocols at the welcome centers. And I think it's really important for us to be patient and to socially distant and stay back. I think we've seen some communities do it very effectively that we've seen on media coverage, but unfortunately we've seen too many of the crowded destinations that have had a real negative impact on our ability to really promote travel. One other thing that I will share too, part of our recovery plan is all about creating collaborative partnerships. We've done that with Count on Me NC. It's wonderful that VisitNC is partnering with so many organizations in the state to really push this through. We recently entered into a partnership with Airbnb that's really going to enable us to use their channels and assets as a way to promote safe travel, as a way to directly communicate with Airbnb hosts in North Carolina so they can get information out to their renters. So, and we're also continuing to look at brand partnerships that can help get this message out. So we're going to do everything we can to help North Carolina recover. And lastly, it'll be exciting to see Marlise in a few weeks present the key findings from resident sentiment, because that's going to play a huge role in how we keep our messaging going forward and we can get back to inspiring people to travel again.
Excellent. Got a question, planning ahead to the fall. If there are events that are looking to go ahead, who should they contact, specifically possibly at DHHS? Obviously, we don't have a DHHS representative here, so I can only speak for what I've seen with some other kind of organizations. But I know that DHHS has encouraged folks to talk with their local health departments on coming up with plans. And if the RNC is any indication for some of these events, definitely having kind of multi-planned multi-phase plans in place. One that would be kind of stricter, one that would be a little looser. That has been what DHHS has passed before, but I know that particularly as we've talked on film matters on getting people out, the encouragement has been to work with your local health department on developing a plan and having them give some input on that. And finally, looks like we got one last question here with Cook It Forward. How frequently do you anticipate releasing videos and recipes?
Well, we are hoping to have our website updated this week, where you'll be able to see Ashley's live demo. And then part of the campaign is we'll be editing those videos and then boosting those posts of those videos out to food obsessed audiences and followers. So that's going to happen this week. We're certainly working with our agency on that right now. And then we're hoping to bring on an additional 3. We had 8 chefs agree and very enthused about moving forward, but we're really being very thoughtful about what is happening, across our nation right now, and the conversation around systemic racism. So we want to make sure that we're able to, position North Carolina in the right way and at the right time. So we're working with 2 or 3 chefs right now on how we can ramp up this campaign, and certainly we'll do everything we can to do so before we launch our safety message.
All right, very
Nice.
good. Well, this concludes our webinar for this week. I do want to say that definitely stay tuned to the VisitNC communications, both our news link as well as WIT's COVID-19 updates. We do anticipate the webinars possibly going back to weekly, because we have a lot of information that we want to share with you and initiatives that are starting to take place. So while we had momentarily moved to every other week, there's a very strong possibility we could be back to a weekly format starting next week. So make sure you're paying attention to those outlets. And as always, you can also visit VisitNC365.com and the partners page to see what the next webinars are scheduled for and what those topics will be. So until we see you again, have a great day. Continue the wonderful work that you're doing, and we appreciate all of your support as well as your attendance today. Thanks a lot.